Several SpaceX employees who were fired after posting an open letter criticizing CEO Elon Musk's behavior have filed a lawsuit.
The group claims SpaceX fired them in retaliation and in violation of labor laws. Joining us now to talk more about what went down is one of those employees, Tom Moline. Tom, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, sorry to hear about the loss of your job, but can you explain to us why you and your colleagues wrote this letter?
Yeah, no problem. Good morning, and thanks for having me on. I would say SpaceX has a long history of poor handling of sexual harassment complaints within the company. You could look to examples written last year of several former SpaceX employees, women employees, who reported instances of sexual harassment that went unaddressed by our Human Resources Department. Additionally, SpaceX has this emphasis on the mission of reaching Mars as soon as possible. Though a noble goal, management uses this sort of end justifies the means philosophy to allow them to turn a blind eye to this ongoing mistreatment, harassment, and abuse that has been previously reported by my colleagues. Much of which is directly encouraged by the words and actions of the CEO Elon Musk.
Tom, I'm wondering about the time frame here. How soon after the letter began to circulate were you actually fired?
It was within 24 hours, essentially. So we posted a letter on June 15th, I believe, and on June 16th, myself and 4 other employees were terminated for involvement in the letter.
What went through your mind at that point?
Yeah, in the moment, it was honestly kind of shocking in terms of how brazen the reaction was, especially considering that we had gotten a lot of positive reception on many of the points that were within the letter prior to its release. But yeah, it was honestly shocking to see that sort of reaction from an organization that prides itself on having employees speak up about any issue, whether it's technical, cultural, and gives them the power to drive that change.
Do you all believe that you were fired by Musk himself? In other words, he set it in motion. And what were some of the tweets or comments that you that felt that you had to do this, that you had to undertake this, that you had to essentially put out this letter?
Yeah, I would say given the accelerated nature of the firings, as well as kind of more recent examples at Twitter and other Elon companies, I wouldn't be horribly surprised if he was a big driver of these firings. However, I have no direct knowledge of that. Gwen Shotwell, the COO and president, was directly involved in our firings. She was on a call in the room with us for the terminations with the HR representatives. But yeah, I have no direct knowledge of Elon Musk's involvement. I just would not be surprised if, he was at play here.
But what were some of the,
in terms of,
I was going to say, what were some of the things that you and your colleagues felt that he had said or done or tweeted that made you realize that it was critical for you to put out this letter?
Yeah, I would say there are many, public statements from him on Twitter and just in general with respect to joking about, the allegations that were made against him in a Business Insider article with respect to his potential sexual harassment of a SpaceX flight attendant. There were also several other kind of tweets that were collected around that time where he made light of similar issues with respect to people's representation, with respect to pronoun usage and whatnot, and just basically several kind of similar issues surrounding the treatment of, employees in the workplace.
And Tom, there are a lot of stories out there, of course, now about Elon Musk. But from your perspective, based on your own experience, what you saw, how would you describe Elon Musk's leadership style?
Yeah, I would say it's very much off the cuff and all focused on that mission, at least at SpaceX that I mentioned, of getting to Mars as quickly as possible. This allows him and also sets an example for management within the company to basically ignore anything that can potentially get in the way of that mission, whether that is, federal labor laws, the sexual harassment of women within the workforce, and other kind of similar mistreatment of workers.
Well, so what's been the response from SpaceX since the suit was filed?
I have not personally seen anything from them as of yet. I do know that employees within the company are still very fearful of talking about and, advocating for these issues since the firings. It seems like a goal of these firings was to have that effect of silencing the workforce and maintaining the status quo. So that is very much still at play for my former colleagues within the company.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Tom, what do you hope comes out of this suit? I mean, do you think that bringing light to the systems and culture could really change things at SpaceX?
Yeah, I think this is, one of the many steps that will be necessary for bringing about positive change within the company. I definitely want to see accountability for, Elon Musk and SpaceX engaging in what I would say is blatantly illegal behavior with respect to these firings. And also allow people to feel comfortable continuing these conversations and advocating for a better workplace.
All right, Tom Moline. Tom, thanks so much for sharing your perspective with us.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.